So you finally went to the doctor. You described the bloating, the gas, the way your stomach runs your whole life. They ran your blood work, maybe even did a colonoscopy, and the results came back in. Everything's normal. For 1 second, you're relieved, and then it hits you. Wait, if everything's normal, why do I still feel like this? So now you're wondering if it's all in your head or if you just have to live like this forever. You don't. And the reason your labs came back normal actually makes complete sense once you understand what those tests are and aren't looking for. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through why your labs can look totally normal even when you feel anything but, and what's actually worth testing instead. And in case we haven't met yet, my name is Heather. I'm a functional nutritional therapy practitioner. I specialize in gut health, and I work with a lot of women and men who have been told over and over that everything looks normal, but they feel bloated, gassy, and exhausted every single day. So today we're going to talk about why that happens and what to make sure you don't overlook if you're serious about getting answers. First, if you've been told that everything's normal, but you still feel terrible, you're not imagining it and you're probably not being dramatic. Your symptoms are real if they're anything like mine were. The thing is, doctors are helpful, but they are trained to look for disease. So things like colorectal cancer, inflammatory bowel disease, celiac, ulcers, and that's a good thing. You genuinely want that stuff ruled out, right? But here's what happens next. Once they've ruled out disease and don't find anything wrong with you or anything diagnosable, beyond that point, it gets labeled as not medically necessary. And our system, not medically necessary means not covered. So deeper testing, the stuff that is just about your quality of life, your bloating, your gas, not wanting to be on laxatives forever. The system isn't built to go chasing that. That's not your doctor being lazy or wrong. It's just how the whole thing is set up. So they're looking for disease. You're looking to feel like yourself again. And sometimes those paths align, and many times, sadly, they don't. Let's take IBS, for example. So IBS is what's called a diagnosis of exclusion, meaning after they rule out all the scary things that could be causing these symptoms, all of the diseases, the tumors and whatnot, they label your symptoms IBS. So you just have IBS really translates to your tests were normal and we don't know why. It's a label for we couldn't find the cause, not the cause itself. So you get sent home with laxatives, fibers, and antispasmodic, maybe blaming it on stress or maybe being told to live with it. And none of that is wrong exactly, but it's all aimed at quieting the symptoms while the actual why never gets touched. So a label isn't a cause, and you can't fix something that nobody ever went looking for. So what's actually going on down there? Like, if it's not nothing, what is it? It's usually the functional layer those standard tests skip. So an overgrowth of bacteria where they shouldn't be, like SIBO, some other imbalance in your gut bacteria, such as in the large intestine, low stomach acid, not enough enzymes or bile to break food down appropriately, sluggish motility, parasites or fungal overgrowths like Candida, or a gut lining that's not holding up, just to name a few. Let's talk about SIBO for a second because it's a big one. So a 2018 systematic review found that about 38% of people with IBS test positive for SIBO, and that shows up significantly more often in people with IBS than in people without it. That's huge because a standard workup doesn't even include the breath tests that would catch that. Like, me, for example, when I started dealing with gut issues in 2007, nobody ever mentioned SIBO to me. In fact, I don't think I heard about SIBO until 10 years later. So I was never tested, and I believe if I was, my 20s would have been very, very different. But that's a story for another day. But here's the part I really want you to hear. Even SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth is what we're talking about. It never happens in a vacuum. A lot of the time, it traces back to something like an old bout of food poisoning that quietly damaged the nerves running your gut's cleaning waves, so bacteria get to hang around and overgrow when they shouldn't. But there's always a deeper reason why that showed up. The motility, the stomach acid, the stress, and usually there are other imbalances happening at the same time, either as a result of that, like the collateral damage that can be caused by SIBO, the nutrient deficiencies of it all, and other just imbalances happening as a result of those same root causes. So the same thing that's driving the SIBO can be causing other things to go wrong too that are often overlooked. So you have SIBO, here's an antibiotic without ever asking why or diving deeper into the whole picture can be a problematic approach, and sometimes why SIBO has a tendency to come back after conventional treatments. I had a client who had been to several doctors for her abdominal discomfort, irritable bowel movements, and bloating. She was diagnosed with IBS and told to do the usual things, manage stress, try some pills they recommended, and maybe follow a low FODMAP diet. She really didn't see herself doing these things forever and wanted to feel like her old self again, which is why she came to work with us. And upon learning that she did have SIBO as well as several other imbalances in her gut, we were able to support her holistically with nutrition and lifestyle support. And in just a few months, she reported feeling back to her old self again. She was able to eat out in restaurants again without issues, which was one of her big goals. So what should we actually be testing for? Well, as I said before, please don't skip your doctor or the standard workup. Ruling out the scary stuff first is important. But there are so many great functional tests out there, and honestly, what you need is going to depend on you. But here are my 3 favorites. First is stool. So not the kind that you've probably had at the doctor's. So the conventional stool testing that you'll get at the doctor's will typically be a culture. It's looking for one specific thing at a time, like Giardia. It's a do you have this infection? Yes or no type of test, but it's not looking at your whole microbiome. It's not actually asking the question of like what is out of balance there. It's asking, do you have Giardia? Yes or no. If you understand how many thousands of microorganisms can live in the human microbiome, that just starts to sound like such a crazy way of investigating what's causing symptoms, in my opinion. So again, it's not looking at the whole microbiome. And if you don't have that one thing, it won't be very helpful. Alternatively, functional stool tests often look at everything. So all of your bacteria, as well as many parasites and fungi. It's kind of the difference between looking for one species in the Amazon jungle versus having a picture of the entire Amazon jungle. My favorite stool test right now is a company called Tiny Health. They are using shotgun metagenomic sequencing technology, which is the best tech we have right now in stool testing. It's the most accurate, it is the most thorough and comprehensive. And specifically, I love the Pro version, which is kind of a hybrid. So it's shotgun together with another type of test that gives us all of the functional digestive markers. It is practitioner order only, though. It's less than $100 more than the regular Tiny Health available on their website, but it gives us so many more data points that can be so helpful. So I think it's really worth the extra money if you can afford it. Another popular option here, and I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of it, is the GI map, but we'll chat about that on another episode. Drop a comment if you want an episode about the GI map, the limitations of it, why I'm not a huge fan of it. But the TLDR of that is that shotgun metagenomic sequencing lets us see all of the bacteria. So GI map only has like 80 something biomarkers and only like half of those are bacteria. So like, for example, my gut microbiome, I have like 550 species in my gut. So if you think of that as like my Amazon jungle, 550 species, the GI map is only showing me 40. So it's like less than 10% of the jungle that I'm seeing. And I'm trying to decide how to optimize this entire ecosystem with only a fraction of the information that I need. I have so many other thoughts to share on that test, but again, drop a comment if you want that. I don't want to bore you guys in this episode. And if somebody is telling you that it is the gold standard of tests and charging you $600 for it, I would just get a second opinion. I would look around because that is the way things were done 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and not the way things are being done right now. And you basically can get a lot more information for a lot less investment. But the next test that I really, really like are breath tests. There are some pretty cool home breath testers that can help you see the different gas levels coming from your gut after you eat or drink different things. I also love the urine test for leaky gut. So this one almost no practitioners run, and I genuinely don't know why. It's called the lactulose mannitol test. It has been the gold standard for leaky gut testing for like 3 decades, and it's more accurate than the zonulin stool marker that everyone reaches for. So if leaky gut is part of your picture, this is the most accurate way to find that out. And obviously there are so many other great tests out there, but these are just a few that I love. And whenever we order labs for our clients, they pay wholesales or whatever the lowest price is that we can get from the labs. So a lot of practitioners actually mark up labs. We do the opposite. But if you've been told that everything is normal and you know something is off, or you've been handed the IBS label and you want to actually find out why instead of managing it forever, that's exactly what we help people do one-on-one in our Gut Health Glow Up program. So we use these functional tests to help you dive deeper into what's actually happening in your microbiome so that we can help you eat, dress, and live with freedom again. DM me on Instagram to talk through whether that's the right next step for you. I'm also going to try my best to put links to any free resources that I have that would be relevant to the episodes down in the description. So if I have something related to labs that I think would help you guys, I will link that down below too. So check it out. I will do my best to do that with most episodes. And if you found this episode helpful, liking it tells the platform to share it with other people searching for this. So you can support the channel that way anytime and help other people get the help they need to. All right, that's it for this episode about labs. I'll talk to you on the next episode. Bye.